Good.
Um, okay. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. I restarted the recording.
All right.
Um, hey Tara, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking. So how's your week been? How have you been since the last time we met?
I've been doing pretty good. I'm still really stressed out to this point where I've been trying to think of different ways to like handle it. But I'm just not I don't feel like I'm there yet. But for the most part, I've been managing. We'll say managing.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Mhm.
And that's actually kind of what we're going to be working on today.
Okay.
We're going to do something today called a pros and cons matrix,
Okay.
where we're just kind of talking about what you came in to face, which it sounds like a lot of it's just managing stress in
Hmm.
different situations. Uh, right.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna kind of talk about that, talk about some pros and cons and steps you can take to kind of manage that stress a bit better and work towards improving that.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah. Do you have any questions so far?
Nope.
Awesome. So when it comes to managing stress, it's just an overall thing for you, right? It's like seems to happen in pretty much every area of your life, work, school, family, right? And
Yeah.
it's like it tends to come out in inappropriate or unhealthy ways.
Yeah, like I'll either shut down or I will lash out or like lose my temper or stuff like that. So a lot of it specifically around school is like I'll shut down. Work, oh man, yeah. It's just all of it. And at work I can't really react when I get stressed out because I could lose my job if I reacted the wrong way. So I try to just like take it. And then when I get home, I'm already stressed out. And so if I get any more added stress, I tend to like lose it a little bit more there too. So,
Yeah. So we're gonna kind of talk about some ways to change that. So instead of like not managing the stress, ways kind of changing towards ways of like healthy ways of coping with stress, right?
okay. Yeah,
Can't
that sounds good.
eliminate stress entirely. Stress
Right.
is this messy thing that we always have to deal with in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of trying to pretend it's not there, we want to take steps to cope with it better and figure out ways to reduce stress. So I'm going to be writing a couple things down as we have a conversation.
Okay.
This is to keep everything that we're talking about um, on track, and then I can send it over to you once we are done, and you will have kind of a plan laid out.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome. So our ultimate goal is reducing and coping with stress, right? So
Yeah.
what would be an advantage or some advantages to not changing, to keeping things how they are right now?
Hmm. Sheesh. An advantage of not changing anything would be likely like um at least I'm familiar with how I'm functioning, I guess, like some familiarity. Um, I don't know. I know I'm here because I know something needs to change. So I'd say
I know it's
probably just
like a
that.
weird question. It is kind of
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
Some people in situations like this might just say, then I don't have to change.
Hmm.
But it sounds like that's some you don't you're here because you want to make
Yeah.
change, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So what would be some disadvantages to not changing, to keeping things exactly the way they are now?
Oh gosh, I'll probably have a heart attack. I can foresee like physical and mental health like problems occurring. I can see like a lot of shutdown. I can see a lot of rift within my home life and like probably a lot of problems between my wife and my kids and myself. Just because if I'm stressed, they can feel it and it's uncomfortable for everybody. So I would say like a potential to like damage my mental health, my physical health, and my overall my family's like well-being, I guess.
Yeah, so it could cause problems like both physical and mental health problems.
Hmm.
When you said heart attack,
Yeah.
um, that is something, I mean, like panic attacks are
Hmm.
associated with heart attacks. They have the same symptoms,
Oh
and it's
wow.
not far off. If we decide not to manage stress and it does build up, it can cause physical symptoms.
Yeah. I don't want that. So
Exactly. That's why I applaud you being here today. You're doing the work, right?
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then also, like, not changing, not um, facing these issues can cause rifts and issues within your family as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Well, not awesome. Sorry.
That's okay. I did that
Um,
a couple of times. You're good.
um, so on the reverse side of that, what would be some disadvantages to making change, to uh, managing your stress differently?
Hmm. I mean, at this point, I can't really think of any disadvantages off the top of my head of making a change. I guess the only disadvantage that I can maybe like come up with would be that I would have to like learn something new and like almost feeling like I'm putting more on my plate by trying to figure out how to manage this stress.
Yeah,
I guess that would be something.
which is completely a completely reasonable thing to think of and expect, right? Because
Yeah.
things don't change unless we put in the work, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. And then on the reverse side of that, what would be the advantages to changing and being able to manage your stress better and reduce it?
Man, I envision a lot more smiles than frowns. I would imagine that it would be a lot of calmness within myself and within my family. I would drastically reduce my stress level and my feelings of like overwhelmness and like yeah, and like maybe a lot of my other symptoms like I've been trying to lose weight and I can't, and I think it's a lot to do with the stress that I have bottled up, and like I think that there's so many excuse me advantages of changing. That's like why I feel like I must do this. So yeah.
And those are all really good things, right? I love that you started out with more smiles
Hmm.
because not only will can that positively impact you, but it can impact your family
Hmm.
and those around you, the people you work with.
Exactly.
So I really, really like that you identified that
Hmm.
because this is something that this change can make you very happy and it can increase your mood, right?
Right.
And positive mood can impact everything else that we do.
That's kind of yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Appreciate that.
of course. So we've kind of in, we've kind of reflected on all of these things, what not changing would mean versus changing, both the
Hmm.
disadvantages and advantages.
Hmm.
Um, not change the advantages of not changing with not pretty much not having to change anything about what you're currently doing, right? Uh,
Exactly. Yep.
you're familiar with it. Disadvantages to that can be like health problems, both physical and mental, as well as issues within your family and in your relationships, right?
Yeah.
But changing, there's very few disadvantages to being able to positively cope and manage your stress, right?
Hmm.
Um, you said the only disadvantage might be putting a little extra on your plate right now and having to learn something new.
Yeah.
That would be a temporary thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And which the advantages of which mean more smiles, less stress, potentially fewer health problems, even some physical benefits,
Right.
as well as improving the relationships with those around you, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. So the next thing we're kind of going to talk about is just we're going to rate a couple things. I'm going to ask you to rate the the level of change from a scale of 1 to 10. So
Okay.
1 being like least important, like not a priority at all, to 10 being extremely important. How important would you say that this change is to you?
I think that it is a 10 for me. Like I feel like this is almost like it's almost like one of those life or death situations. Like I'm either gonna figure it out and be a better human being down the road, or I'm not gonna figure it out and I'm just gonna be one big giant ball of stress for the rest of my life. So 10.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I appreciate how you can recognize how important it is in your life. Going along with that, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel in making this change? 1 being like,
Um,
I don't feel like I can do it at all. 10 being like, I got this, no problem.
I think that it's I think that I can do it. I just need some like help. And so I'm feeling like a solid 7, maybe 7 or 8 even. Let's go with 7 probably. Seven's
Okay.
that number that's calling me.
And why would you say 7 and not like 6?
Because I'm like I said earlier, like I'm really motivated to figure this out, and it is so important to me. Just like anything that I have to do, it's just going to require more out of me. But I'm willing to do that, and so that's why I feel like 7's a pretty solid number.
That's great. And 7, I mean, that's a great number, right? 7's a
Yeah,
lucky number.
yeah, right.
So I love that. Yeah, I love that you're feeling confident about that. And that confidence is kind of leading in with how important this is to you.
Hmm.
Um, Next thing, on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready do you feel to make this change?
Man, I guess I'm a solid 9 ready. Like the only anxiety I have about making the change is the footwork, honestly, and like what that looks like. Because you always kind of when you're trying to do anything, you may stumble or something like that. And so I guess I'm more worried about like what the footwork will look like, but I would say a 9.
Awesome. Well, and that's going right hand in hand with your how important this is to you, right?
Hmm.
So readiness a 9. Why would you say a 9 and maybe not? So a 9 instead of a 10 is mostly just because you know there's going to be steps and
Right.
additional work.
Hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. So going along with that, thinking of the advantages and the disadvantages to making this change, as well as how ready and confident you feel in being able to make this change, what do you think are some tasks, some goals that you can identify that would help you make this change? Like a baby step.
I think that like one of the things that I was thinking about maybe trying was to kind of offload some of the responsibilities that I have. I'm involved in a few extracurricular activities. I'm trying to be involved in my community and volunteering places because I want to do the work and get in there. But also we're recognizing that I might not have that much flex in my schedule. Me and my wife are all we got with our children and getting them to and from school and sitters and stuff like that. We don't have a lot of options. So I think that that would be one of my first things that I would think about would be offloading some responsibility so that I can have less things on my plate to focus on.
Yeah, so because it sounds like you are very overwhelmed with the amount of things that are required of you and that you have also committed yourself to in some way, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of goes along with being willing and able to say no, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think a lot of us, especially people in the human services field, we are passionate about things. And I know you are very passionate about everything you do. And so you want to uh, help out. You want to take some of those extra responsibilities because you feel like you can make a difference, right?
Right. Exactly.
but it is okay to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. And you
Mm-hmm.
don't even need to say sorry for it. I can't do
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
have other things that are very important to me, such as family, your
Mm-hmm.
relationships, work, making
Yeah.
sure that the commitments at school, like the things that you have paid your tuition for,
Right.
are accomplished, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is a really good goal.
Yeah. I think do I have to give you three? You want three?
Yeah, so kind of going along with that, what are some other ones you can do, other baby steps?
I think checking in with the person that I think it affects probably the most, which would be my spouse. Um, Checking in with her because she tends to get a lot of the offload that I give because it's like, she's asked me to do something and it's like maybe the last thing that I can, handle or whatever. And then she gets the reaction of 17 other things that I already have on my plate, but that she's completely unaware of. So I think checking in with my wife would be something that I would really want to try to do consistently and like kind of doing like self-reflections too. So
So, and when you say checking in, do you mean specifically regarding your levels of stress and the stress between the two of you, or just regular check-ins, kind of check in with each other? It's like, hey, how are you doing?
probably more leaning towards the level of stress that I have. Like when I say check in, I mean like let her know like, hey, I have this, and this going on. And like letting her know, like I guess like letting her know where I'm at in my headspace so that she knows that when I'm whatever reacting however, that it's like that it's not a personal attack or it's not because of her or something like that. So like that kind of check in, just like letting her know where I'm at and how overwhelmed I am, so that someone else knows too, and maybe she could help me, like, or even just like acknowledge, like, oh, maybe she won't ask me to do that, or maybe maybe I won't, so stuff like that probably.
Awesome. I think that is a great idea. Have you ever heard of kind of, there's a thing that some couples do when they come home after whatever kind of day they've had, they check in with each other and be like, someone might say, I have 20%.
Mm.
That would mean it's like, I only have about 20% of energy to give right now
Oh,
after.
that's cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. And so, and that's checking in and seeing what the other person said. It's like maybe the other person says, I have 50%.
Mm.
And um 50% and 20%, that doesn't quite make 100, right? It makes
Right.
7. But
Mm-hmm.
that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing where each other is at and knowing where to make up the difference,
Mm-hmm.
or best to what things can kind of not be focused on in that point in time. What are the
Yeah,
most
that
important?
makes sense. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
That's something that you might be able to utilize.
Yeah, actually, for sure. That's it. I've never heard of anything like that. So I'm gonna actually talk to her about it after we get out of here.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
then is there any other task, like one more task you can think of that, like a baby step towards being able to manage and reduce your stress?
I think a lot of it is time management and managing and planning out the time and actually utilizing the time that I do have. Even if it's not how I envisioned it. I have a really hard time with like if things aren't going how I planned them, I kind of have like internal meltdowns because of it. Um and it causes me a lot of stress when things don't go planned. And so maybe kind of leaning into that and like scheduling appropriate times to get work done and also like revamping those times if like something's not working. Well, I guess this class I'm not going to study for tonight and I'm rocking my baby and I guess I'll do reading for another class while I'm rocking my baby to sleep or something like that. So I guess I could probably time management and organize my schedule a little bit better for sure.
Yeah, so it sounds like not only time management, but kind of prioritizing what things can be done at what times, right?
And I think flexibility too, because like there's sometimes that if I'm like, it's really weird, but sometimes if I've turned in an assignment a little bit late or something, I don't have it, like I cannot go on to the next week until I finish that assignment. And then I end up getting behind in other classes too. So I think adding to that flexibility too.
Okay, awesome. And out of those tasks that we've kind of talked about, the offloading responsibilities or kind of lessening the amount of things that you have on your plate, also checking in with your spouse
Hmm.
regarding your stress levels,
Hmm.
and time management, prioritizing, and flexibility.
Hmm.
Out of those three things, what do you think would be the easiest thing for you to realistically implement between now and the next time we meet?
I think that probably man, I think that the thing that I have the most control over at this point would be to be flexible and manage my time and prioritize my time. And I can try that and see how that goes. And if it doesn't go as well as I hoped, then maybe I can try something else.
So I am going to ask you to try and work on that. I know
Mhm.
homework, let's try to not think of it as homework because
Mhm.
you have plenty of things on your plate. I don't want to try and add something on top, right?
Right,
I want you to be able to work this into your life, and I want it to be for you and work for you. So that is the whole point of this, right?
right.
Do you have any questions kind of about what we've talked about so far?
Mm-mm. No, I mean, it all makes a lot of sense and it's really helpful. And it's actually really helpful to have it all laid out, like what tasks, it's like, oh, well, maybe this is more manageable than I originally thought it was.
Yeah, and it's all about taking those. I love to use the word baby steps because everything takes baby steps, even a
Mm-hmm.
big step. Break it down. So today we kind of talked about pros and cons about making this change towards reducing, managing your stress levels, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
also talked about um, where you're at in terms of being able to take action and
Mm-hmm.
start making those changes, right?
Right.
When we are done here, I will send this over to you in a readable format so you
Okay.
can use that and take those steps. Do you have any questions for me before we end our session today?
No, that was really, really helpful. Thank you so much, Jade.
Awesome. Thank you. You have a good day, Tara.
All right.